Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of my Best Talkers Countdown. Now, earlier this week I tabulated all your votes from social media to find out who should be regarded as the best microphone masters of all time. Then I realized that paring it down to 8 would be an impossible task. On Tuesday, we counted down the most epic promo guys from the 70s to the mid-90s. And today we're listing the best talkers from the mid-90s to today, all voted by you, the fans. Let's begin. Number 8, The Miz. In my opinion, I think The Miz is a very underrated individual in the grand scheme of things. I think a lot of the votes that he got for this countdown were based on his more recent performances, but even if you take those away, his overall body of work is still impressive. The Miz has been gifted on the mic almost since the beginning of his time in WWE, due largely in part to his experience on television before getting signed. From being part of the ECW brand, to his partnership with John Morrison, to his run as United States Champion, Money in the Bank winner, and WWE Champion, to his most recent time as Intercontinental Champion, Miz has used his gift of gab to get the most visceral reactions out of fans who love to see him get beat up.
I don't believe in second chances because I have been perfect my entire life.
And why not? Let's talk about his pipe bomb moment on Talking Smack earlier this year. It's undoubtedly the most memorable promo of his career, done at a time when public disdain for him was at an all-time high. It's a promo that turned some of his haters into believers because it was so damn convincing. To this day, some people still swear that it was a shoot. Kudos to The Miz for reaching down into what was likely some genuine feelings to come up with a promo that was indeed planned but came from a very real place.
And I'm sick of all of you, my GM, sitting there criticizing me, calling me the coward. You're the cowards.
One of the best heel characters of the last 10 years, it's easy to see why The Miz was voted in by the fans. Number 7, Raven. Wrestling's greatest symbol of Generation X, Raven gets the nod on this countdown for his vulnerable, evocative promo style that other brooding wrestlers still try to copy to this day.
The world is full of kings and queens. They'll blind your eyes and steal your dreams.
What made Raven's promo so good was the fact that he could cut an identical promo whether he was a face or a heel. All he'd have to do was just change the language up ever so slightly, and he'd go from being seen as this sympathetic creature that fans would feel sorry for to all of a sudden switching over and being an arrogant genius that fans hated.
I can see this. I can feel the pain. Why can't they understand?
Raven was a true method actor in the ring. He was a master of emotional and psychological manipulation over the fans, and his dark, cutting-edge promos were a big key to his success. Number 6, Mick Foley. As Raw General Manager, Mick Foley is, quite frankly, a sad shell of his former self with some occasional moments of brilliance. But in his prime, he was an amazing talker, 3 times over. Cactus Jack, Mankind, and Dude Love are 3 very different characters in wrestling, even if they're all played by the same guy. But Foley was able to give each man their own unique voice, showcasing his versatility.
Do you think I got many dates after that, Jimmy?
Probably not.
Do you think girls wanted to kiss a boy who had worms on his breath?
Foley has always had an innate ability to take the fans on an emotional roller coaster ride with his promos. At times, he was very vulnerable. Other times, he was hilarious. And sometimes, downright murderous.
You flushed my heart. You flushed my soul. And now it sickens me to sit back and see other people making the same mistake.
When Foley is on, he is on. He's so naturally gifted at talking in general, but when he has to, he's able to reach deep down into a dark place to get that precise level of emotion out of himself, which in turn gets a reaction from the fans, the way it should be done. For being able to switch from tortured and deranged to comical and exuberant in as little time as it takes to fall off the top of the cell, Mick Foley is truly one of the all-time greats. Number 5, Steve Austin. Steve Austin's promo style was not pretty. His promos never followed a specific pattern. He didn't come at you with an endless torrent of catchphrases. He was just a guy who was mad at the world and wanted you to know about it. And that's why they were awesome. Austin was never an eloquent guy, and he never spoke in innuendo, but that's part of what made him so popular, was his relatability with the average guy. When Stone Cold cut a promo, never once did you think he was playing a character or they didn't mean what he said. When he had a point to make, you could hear it loud and clear.
But the same person wrote every single one of those signatures because the office don't give a damn how Stone Cold's doing, and that's the bottom line.
Talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just whipped your ass.
Bret Hart on his best day can't lace my boots, and I'm gonna prove that to the world.
From Austin 3:16 to what?
What?
I said, from Austin 3:16 to what?
What?
Steve Austin was a loose cannon on the mic, full of beer and venom, passionate and real. A way with words combined with a steely intensity, Austin is definitely one of the top talkers in wrestling history. Number 4. Chris Jericho. Quite possibly more than his wrestling ability, which is great, the biggest reason Chris Jericho has been able to stay so successful for so long is his ability to get over with the fans simply by talking.
Welcome to Raw is Jericho!
A man with no shortage of catchphrases, one of the biggest hallmarks of Jericho's time on the microphone is that he rarely gets stale, rarely gets complacent. It seems that every 6 to 8 months he's on some new kind of kick, some new wrinkle in his character. This year alone, Chris Jericho's gotten the following phrases over: stupid idiot, drink it in, man, and
You just made the list!
how many other people could get a list or the phrase stupid idiot to get so popular with the crowd? Who else but Jericho could do the things that he does without it feeling forced or cheesy or put upon? It's that level of commitment to make anything work that makes Jericho definitely deserving of being on this list. Number 3. CM Punk. CM Punk is arguably the best in the world at wrestling and at talking. Just don't ask him about his MMA career. But all kidding aside, Punk had one of those timeless promo styles. He just sounded like a real human being with real thoughts and emotions and motives. You know, the best way I could describe Punk's promo style was that he was real. It doesn't sound like the most glowing way to describe him, but in the wrestling world, being real is the best you can do.
The greatest thing the devil ever did was make you people believe he didn't exist. I am the devil himself, and all of you stupid, mindless people fall for it.
Punk was very similar to guys like Raven and Jake Roberts in that he would come off as very intelligent while talking about a match or an opponent. But while Raven and Roberts were very concise on the mic, Punk would often ramble in his promos. That's not a bad thing, as it enhanced the realism of what he was saying. Plus, it showcased more of just how smart he was.
What made him famous, what catapulted Steve Austin to the top, was beating up a clueless, inept millionaire.
And you can't talk about CM Punk without talking about his infamous pipe bomb promo that shocked the wrestling world. That promo came at the exact right moment, at a time when it needed to be heard. It instantly gave him years of equity that might not have been there had he not uttered those famous words. Those comments by Punk resonated with so many people, it actually got jaded fans to come back to wrestling.
I have proved to everybody in the world that I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, even at commentary.
A master wordsmith who never went over your head, plus the originator of the phrase Paul Heyman guy, CM Punk is one of the best promo guys of this or any era.
Hey, Colt Cabana, how you doing?
Number 2. Paul Heyman. If any of you were wondering where Paulie was in my last countdown, here's your answer. And yes, Paul Heyman's been around cutting promos since the 80s, but in my opinion, he really hit his stride in the mid-90s when he was in ECW, and has been a force to be reckoned with to this day.
But I have something to say to you!
There are so many glowing terms I could use to describe Heyman's oratory ability, but most of them have already been said by others far more qualified than I. These days, Paul Heyman's not a manager who's good at talking. Paul Heyman is a lyrical genius who just happens to stand at ringside for Brock Lesnar's matches. Lots of fans may not care for Lesnar these days anymore for a variety of reasons, but they all perk up their ears whenever Paul Heyman talks about him or plugs an upcoming match, because Paul Heyman is the master of selling the match to you. He paints the picture in your mind, and you instinctively want to shell out money to see if it comes true.
Who did that to The Rock? Who did that to The Undertaker? Who did that to John Cena? And what the hell do you think he's gonna do to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania?
Heyman can blur the lines of kayfabe and reality with ease, and it can inspire a bevy of emotions with a single sentence. My God, I could do a top 8 on Paul Heyman's greatest promos alone and would have a hard time narrowing it down. Paul Heyman's one of those lucky few who've been able to transcend eras, and we as fans are lucky to have him cutting promos every Monday night. Now it's time for my honorable mention, someone who didn't garner a lot of fan votes, but who I feel deserves to be in the conversation for greatest talker. Vince McMahon. When people talk about the greatest promo people in wrestling history, they often overlook a guy who's been there practically all along, the chairman himself. Vince McMahon has been no stranger to the microphone, having done commentary for the WWF before buying the company from his father, Vince Sr. Since then, Vinnie Mac has established an impressive collection of memorable promos as the sometimes benevolent but mostly evil owner of WWE.
Life sucks, and then you die.
During his run as an on-screen character, Vince often got some of the biggest reactions of the night even before the microphone reached his lips. And when he did start talking, people listened and reacted. He was the perfect foil or companion for guys like Steve Austin, The Rock, and Triple H. Those guys were all great in their own right, but you could argue some of their best work came when engaging with Mr. McMahon.
Vincent Kennedy McMahon, and the product of my semen, my son's shame!
The promos weren't always perfect. Some of the things he said were horrifying or funny or cringeworthy, but no matter how they were received, his promos were always memorable. When your job is promotion, sometimes if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. And the number one best modern day talker as voted by the fans is The Rock. By a friggin' landslide, viewers of the show consider The Rock to be the best promo guy not only of his generation, but of all time, and you can't say it isn't well deserved. The minute Rocky Maivia began referring to himself in the third person in 1997, a star was born. From then on, virtually everything he said on the mic was ready-made for a chant or to be put on a t-shirt. The Rock turned trash talking into an art form, put it on a level that all wrestlers since then aspire to reach.
Bob? But my name's Billy. It doesn't matter what your name is!
By 1999, fans would hang on every word The Rock said, chanting his name, doing sing-along with the champ, all that stuff. Even though I still think the line is stupid, this man got poontang pie over. No one else could do that.
I did it for The Rock. I did it. Shut your mouth, you thong-wearing fatty!
Not only were his promos white hot in his wrestling prime, The Rock has only gotten more popular and godlike since leaving WWE for Hollywood. Every time the man makes a surprise appearance on Raw or makes a grand entrance at WrestleMania, the crowd goes ballistic, eagerly anticipating to hear what he has to say. We all thought the whole setting his name on fire thing was weird, but who cares? He had catchphrases! Yay, catchphrases! For talking millions and millions of fans into arenas over the years, and for never losing a step on the microphone, that's why viewers have voted The Rock as the best promo man of his time and of all time. So who else from the last 20 years do you think belongs on this list? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zane, out.
Hey ho, Brian, good to see you again.
You again, Puppet? Come on, man. I already DM'd you apologizing for what I said about puppets in wrestling, okay? I'm sure Rocco was cool at the time.
An apology alone isn't going to cut it with me, Brian. I want you to be really sorry. I want you to suffer and cry, and probably, like, bleed, too.
Puppet, look, man, you can't hurt me, okay? Look at my body of work. I've already put myself through hell. What are you going to do?
You know, Brian, Christmas is coming up soon. Santa Claus is coming to town and all that. I don't know, why don't you check your chimney? See if it needs cleaning.
Is that code?
That's my evil laugh, Brian. See you next week.
What the? Oh! Oh, God. That damn puppet.